First of all, welcome to the channel and thank you for stopping by. When time permits, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm about to go on a ride, and it's one of my favorite kind of rides. Not because I'm going someplace I really want to see, not because there's going to be great trails or any off-road at all on the way there, but because it's to see somebody else. I really do enjoy riding my bike and meeting other riders. And today I'm going to have the opportunity to meet Patrick from Moto Ramblings. I've talked to Patrick multiple times. I've been on 2 lives with Patrick. He's a pretty interesting dude with 2 very different, very interesting motorcycles. Unfortunately, Copper will not be making an appearance today, but I do want to see his Goldwing, so I'm going to enjoy that as well. And while I'm taking off, 2 things. 1, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of my videos in the winter are indoors because I'm in New York. Next winter, I'm hoping to be here in Tennessee, and I went ahead and made a purchase that will allow me to do more work, well, indoors, but with the bike. What we have here is a 10-foot by 16 lofted shed. And that is so that, well, we can store a couple things we need to from New York. But more importantly to me, there is going to be plenty of room here for a motorcycle. Once we've gone ahead and appropriately stacked all the bins of things that we're hanging on to and probably should get rid of, there's going to be plenty of room to work on my bikes. And one of the things I plan to do next year is to follow ADV Matt and tear down the 390. It has a lot of maintenance it's going to need. It'll be over 30,000 miles. And this shed is going to give me the opportunity to take it apart, not having to rush. I simply couldn't do it in the 10 by 10 shed I had in New York, but I'll finally have the room to do it here. But let's get going. Alrighty then, road trip on the CRF 250L. And even though it's been upgraded to the same 286 cc's that a 300L has, it's not really a road bike. I mean, it'll get you where you want to go, but I try not to do too much of this. Hopefully you can hear me. There's nothing blocking the wind, and it's an incredibly windy day. And on top of that, I have a relatively loud exhaust on here. However, you ride the bike you have to ride, and I don't have any other bike to ride. Now, my intention was to take my 390 adventure to the Palmetto ADV rally. However, when I was on my last shakedown ride to make sure everything's great, I lost my rear brake. I can't find where the fluid went. I have to look at it more closely, but it just lost everything out of the reservoir. The brake was there when I started the ride. And when I was using the brake an hour later, it just went nothing. So I thought, I'll just ride the 790 Adventure. I had to stop in Tennessee and get camping gear anyway. What's the big deal? So I called my wife just to find out how the 790 is doing. I haven't started that bike since September. And I asked my wife, would you mind starting the bike, running it for a couple of minutes, and then the next day, run it for a couple minutes more just to make sure the battery's holding its charge and everything's fine. And she said, sure, great. Came back 20 minutes later, called me and said, hey, the bike started right up. I ran it, turned it off, all was good. 2 days later, I arrive in Tennessee, and unfortunately, my dear sweet wife had run the bike as I had asked, but she forgot to turn the key off. So the battery is stone dead on the 790. I charged it back up to see if that would help. Very unlikely with an AGM battery. And the bike is throwing all sorts of codes. It doesn't know that the kickstand is up or down. It doesn't know the gears. It just no throttle. The bike will start when you charge the battery, but it has no throttle. You just do this and nothing happens. It's, oh God. So I went ahead and I ordered a battery. With any luck, it's just that the battery has dead cells. That's what the internet and the 790 boards is telling me. So we're hoping that's the case, and a battery will arrive later today. This is Monday, the Monday before the Palmetto ADV rally. I am due to leave tomorrow to head to Anderson, South Carolina to meet up with Greg and Timmy and a friend of theirs named Travis. I don't want to do that. That's 3.5 to 4 hours on this bike if I can't get my 790 running. So man, fingers crossed that everything's going to be fine with the 790. Well, this bike would be fantastic once I got to Anderson and rode down on the Scar. That is 3.5 to 4 hours of highway riding between where I live and where Greg lives. So that would just suck. But I'll do it if I have to. But right now, I'm focusing on the positive. The positive is I have a working motorcycle, and I'm going to get to go and have lunch with Patrick over at Motor Ramblings. Been looking forward to coming down. We were originally going to have Patrick show me a couple of dirt roads, but my time is tight. Patrick doesn't have his V-Strom right now, so we're going to do lunch, say hello, and we will get to riding on some of the roads Patrick knows later in the season when, well, timing is better. Because right now I'm having good luck that my Honda's working, but bad luck having either of my KTMs available to me. Well, it is 43 degrees. My winter gloves are in New York, and my hands are freezing. No heated grips, as this is my dual sport. The rest of me is fairly warm, as I do have all of my cold weather gear with me. But man, I have got another 22 minutes of 43 degrees plus wind chill on my fingers. Oh, I'm gonna finish up this ride, and maybe we'll say hello to Patrick together. I am bitter cold. I can't feel my fingers anymore. And my face, I can barely feel that. And I have another 35-40 minutes to get home of this same North Carolina, Tennessee mountain ride. And it's going to be all pavement. But let me tell you, I just had an absolutely wonderful time out today. And that is because my recommendation to everyone is to meet people. I don't mean go find people to talk to that have a boring, terrible hobby. I mean meet people that ride motorcycles, preferably similar motorcycles to what you do, but not necessarily. Case in point, I just rode freezing myself from Tennessee to meet Patrick for Motor Ramblings for lunch on a 286cc dual sport with no wind protection in a bitter, cold, windy day. And I met Patrick, who was riding a 2010 Goldwing with his glove warmers plugged into the bike, whose last words to me after we spent 2.5 hours together was, "I think I may use my heated seat." Thanks a lot, Patrick. Thanks for letting me know you were going to be warm. But the point of this motor rambling is, if you ride a motorcycle and you take a joy from it, there's a damn fine chance that any time you spend with another guy who rides a motorcycle and takes enjoyment out of it will be fun had by all. Now, I'm not going to speak for Patrick, but I will say I definitely had a wonderful time sitting down in a nice restaurant. Inexpensive food, by the way. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that. Chatting with a like-minded fellow who shares my interest in motorcycles. You know, we talked about some kids. We talked about some working. We talked about not working. We talked about wives. We talked about towing trailers.
We talked about the East Coast. We talked about where we want to go on the West Coast. And time just flew by because wherever the conversation went, we always knew it was going to come back to our motorcycles. It's a shared love. Your motorcycle, if it is your passion, know that it is a shared passion with many, many other people. And I cannot recommend strongly enough, if you're riding your bike and you're watching me on YouTube or watching any of the 8 million other guys riding around talking about motorcycles, that's great. I appreciate every moment you watch my videos. And I know that Greg, Jason, Chris, Steve, Kyle, Matt, William, Patrick, everybody greatly appreciates every minute you spend watching us online, enjoying this hobby. But I gotta tell you, turn off YouTube next week. Take whatever time you're gonna watch my video. Were you gonna spend 3 minutes on my video? Open up Facebook, find a group in your area, or find a Discord of whatever kind of riding you like. Stop in and, I mean, this sounds like you're going to kindergarten, but show up and make some friends. It is so awesome how any guy with a motorcycle can just meet and talk to any other guy with a motorcycle. You're gonna have a good time. You're not gonna care whether you rode to beat that dude on a Goldwing with a heated seat or whether you unfortunately froze your butt off on a dual sport at the end of winter. It's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be great. So, that's it. I'll stop rambling. Go to the internet, use it for the most valuable thing a motorcyclist can, meeting other motorcyclists. Have some chats, and I guarantee you, at some point, you're gonna get on your bike and you're gonna go meet people in person that you've chatted with on the internet, and you're gonna have an absolutely great day. All right, so I'm gonna spend the next 29 minutes freezing, so I will just tell you here, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you take that advice, and take care.